Welcome to You Make the Difference. I'm Wanda Walker, and today I'm talking to Patty Youngblood with United Way of West Georgia. We're going to talk to you about the history of United Way and the 2015 campaign. Welcome to the show, Patty.
Thanks for having me again, Wanda. It's always fun to come talk to you.
Well, thank you. Tell me about the history of United Way.
United Way as an organization started over 125 years ago in Denver, Colorado. And I was reading up on some history this morning. It said it sounds like a bad joke. It was a woman, a rabbi, and two priests in Denver. But they saw the need for some organized charities and some fundraising. And so they got together and they started the first organization that raised money for multiple charities. They raised money for 10 charities in Denver, and they helped manage the charities. They selected the ones that would receive the funds, and they made sure that they operated as a business in a charity-minded way and were good stewards of the funds that were raised. And so from that humble beginning in Denver, it's an organization that now has spread worldwide.
Yes, it's amazing how someone can have a great idea and begin to implement it on a small scale.
Exactly.
And it go nationwide.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this has gone worldwide.
Oh, wow.
About 5 years ago, United Way there had been similar organizations in other countries around the world, and because industry has become so global, there was the request from industry, like companies. ExxonMobil's a good example, Kimberly-Clark.
Yes.
Caterpillar has plants all over the world, and when they send employees over there, they wanted to be able to give to United Way, and so they have become a worldwide organization.
That's amazing, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah.
It's kind of mind-boggling when they started talking about it.
Yes. Now tell us when it got started in LaGrange.
It got started in LaGrange in 1957 in August. A group of, I believe it was about 12 or 15 people came together, and they started what was called the United Fund Appeal. Some of the older people in our audience may remember the Red Feather campaigns with the United Fund Appeal. And the organization itself went from United Fund Appeal to the United Way of the LaGrange area in the 70s, and then in the 90s it became the United Way of West Georgia. Each one of those actions required the Secretary of State to sign off on it, so it's not just you change your name and you're done. When you're an incorporated organization, you have to go through all those channels. So we're United Way of West Georgia, because we serve Troup, Heard, and Meriwether counties with our agencies, and then we also, as you and I were talking earlier, we also try to serve people in Carroll County if we can. Carroll County does not have a United Way, and so if we can serve some of the people from there who call us. We have organizations in LaGrange who can do that. A couple of them that come to mind are LaGrange Personal Aid, and also our Consumer Credit Counseling Service sees people from all over.
Yes. Now tell me what that Red Feather campaign was, or what was that?
That was it was just a little pin that when you gave to United Way, you got a red feather pin, and then United Way for years had the little metal pins that people, that was my microphone, sorry, got the little metal pins with United Way, and then they went to plastic stick-ons, and so it was that was the emblem, just like our United Way logo is now.
Yes. Okay, so what makes United Way different from other nonprofit organizations?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked me that. United Way is unique because, as I said, that originally in Denver they served 10 charities. A United Way is an organization that raises funds and distributes it in the community to other nonprofits, and we have very strict guidelines about what those nonprofits have to do. We have an allocations process where every agency that receives funding from United Way has to apply every year, and then they get a site visit where we ask volunteers to help us see where their money's going. And what makes United Way so different is they're wonderful campaigns. We just had the breast cancer celebration up on the square and all over town, and that's fantastic. That money goes to a single purpose. When you make a contribution to United Way, there are 25 agencies that benefit from that, and then some other ancillary groups, like Teen Maze and things, that is not an organization in and of itself, but it's an activity that really supports what United Way believes in. So when you ask what makes it different, United Way, there are, one of your later questions asks how many staff we have. We have a very small staff because basically what we do is we organize a campaign, and it helps our business people be able to say, I'm already supporting that through United Way, rather than a lot of individual agencies going to all of our companies in town. It's a unified campaign. The slogan many years ago was one gift for all.
Oh, yes.
So one contribution to United Way, as I said, supports all 25 agencies, and it's a great way to say, I give to United Way, so I support XYZ.
Yes.
And the more people who support United Way, the more money we have to support those agencies.
Yes, so it would be great if everybody would just give to United Way, and you could just take in all those different nonprofits and pour out all that money into the community, right?
And the accountability that United Way requires of our agencies.
Yes.
And just because you are a United Way agency at one time does not mean that you will always be a United Way agency. Our former mayor said one thing he likes about United Way is if an organization is not performing in a business-like manner and under the guidelines of United Way, you can lose your funding. And we have done that to some of our organizations, because if you don't operate like a business, many people say nonprofit and they kind of dismiss it as, oh, that's one of those organizations that kind of does what they want to. Well, we look at nonprofits as businesses.
Right.
We just do not make a profit that we share with our stakeholders. With our stakeholders or with our investors. Our investors are supporting the community through their contributions to United Way.
And so you want to make sure those businesses or those nonprofits are effective in delivering the services to the people that they serve.
Right, and that they do it in a business-like manner, that they pay their payroll taxes, that they do the things that an organization should do to be responsible. We consider, and I know I personally consider being President of the United Way as a huge responsibility to look after a public trust. This is your money, it's my money. I mean, I invest in United Way as well.
Yes.
And I want to make sure that that money is dealt with in a responsible way.
Yes. Okay, now tell us what it means to live united.
What it means to live united is to live united with your community, you are one of the classic examples of someone who lives united. You see something, you see a need in your community, and you try to find a way to bring others in to support that need and to fill that gap. To live united means to teach Sunday school. It means to be a scout leader. It means to live united within your community, to give, advocate, or volunteer as you're able, to support your community to make it a better place to live.
Yes. And I was talking yesterday to a lady from Colombia, and she was telling me that when she came to the United States, she noticed that we were more community-minded than they had been in their country. She said, in our country, we take care of family. She said, but y'all try to take care of the community. And so, that was kind of an eye-opener for me. And you were talking earlier about someone who'd come over to the United States and made that exact observation.
Right.
And tell me who that was.
It was I can't tell you what his name was. He was a gentleman from South America. This was when I was in Oklahoma City, and I was doing a program for a group of people who were visiting Oklahoma City, and the Chamber of Commerce had asked me to do a presentation on volunteerism. And he said that it was a concept that was very unusual to, they all would talk when missionary groups would come
Yeah.
over and build schools and churches in their community. He said, we don't do that for ourselves, and yet you would come over and do that as a group for us. And he said, I never understood it. Now it makes sense.
Yes.
Because as Alexis de Tocqueville said, who came over many, many years ago, he was so amazed at the spirit of volunteerism and community, and that's what built our country, if you think about it.
Yes.
You know, one person helping another person, barn raisings, you know,
Yeah.
you go back to that. And so it was the spirit of community. If we're going to have a strong community, we need strong families who live there. We need people who have good houses and strong barns. And, you know, if he's got a big barn and we help him raise it, maybe part of our crops can be there till we get our
Right.
barn built. And I think it has grown from that spirit.
Yes, and you know, I think probably sometimes, like in my case, when I was working and I had children and those kinds of things, you know, I just felt like I had my hands full with my family and work, and that was about
Right.
all I could manage. But then, you know, particularly when people retire, or people just, some people do it even with small children. It's
I know.
amazing
It's
to
amazing.
me. Yes, but there comes a point in time in your life when you can give back. And so I'm amazed at all the people who give back.
It is, and your friend was right, this community is amazing.
Yes.
You know, you look at the support for Hope for a Day. Everybody
Yes.
rallied around that, and that's the way our community is. I mean, we had our kickoff on September the 10th and had probably 200 people for breakfast at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I had asked Betty Biggs with the West Georgia Choral Society of West Georgia,
Yes.
if they could come and sing a few numbers for us, because I wanted to do a really patriotic kickoff, and they came, and it was phenomenal. And then our speaker that day was Carol Kane.
Oh, yeah.
Who is, for those who may not know, she's a nationally renowned storyteller, and she did
Right.
Rosie the Riveter and tied it into United Way, and it just meshed beautifully. But those are people who gave their time to our community because they believe in what we do.
Yes.
And I think so many people in this area realize that we're stronger when we all work together.
Yes. Now tell us about the 2015 campaign. Tell me first what your goal is.
Our goal is $1,022,015. So if you look at it written out, we've got 2015 at the end, and we were trying to incorporate that
Yes.
into the campaign goal amount. We kicked off on September 10th. We had a great, as I said, we had a great turnout. We had a great kickoff. And then we did our campaign training for campaign coordinators on September 22nd. And we are off and running. We've done presentations. I've been up to Rootville, to Plant Wansley, and done presentations up
Wow.
there. I've been out to Caterpillar. We've got our materials out. We're trying to get everybody covered with all their campaign material and any help that they need. And hope that we have a really, really successful campaign this year.
Yeah, and your campaign goes how long?
As long as people want to give us money.
Okay.
If we reach that $1,022,015, we'll have a big celebration.
Yeah.
And, but we take money anytime, anyway.
Okay, and I had a question that I was going to ask you about how an organization becomes a part of United Way, how they get to be one that the United Way sponsors. And tell me about that.
Well, up until about 2008, we did entertain new organizations. Since 2008, when the economy has declined, we have not taken any new agencies. We do have a policy of doing one-time grants. We have, and when we say one-time grants, it may not just be one time that you get that startup grant, or you may get a startup grant and then the next year you can get a continuation grant. But as far as becoming a United Way partner agency, we really haven't had the funds because our campaign has decreased from a high of $1,500,000 down to where we're $1,022,000 is our
Yes.
goal. So we really haven't had the funds to take new agencies, which would mean, as someone said to me a long time ago, if you say yes to something in your life, you're going to have to say no to something else. So we just feel like it wouldn't be fair to say,
Yes.
we're not going to fund you anymore because we're going to fund them.
Right.
So we continue to fund our United Way agencies. We have had to pare down our funding to each of those agencies. But again, through that allocations process, which, can I elaborate on that a little bit?
Sure.
It's one of the most remarkable processes I've ever been part of. We ask volunteers from the community to come in and help us, and we divide the volunteers into panels. We divide our agencies into panels. And so we usually color code. So if you're on the green panel, you'll have a board member as the chairman of that panel. On the day that we do our volunteer orientation, we have all of the agencies assigned to the green panel meet with all the volunteers, and they work out a schedule to come in and go see the different agencies. Those volunteers get a copy of the agency's budget. They have a narrative that they have to fill out that talks about what they do. If they're asking for an increase, it tells us why they feel they need the increase. And then they'll actually go on a site visit if possible. There are a few of our agencies, like Harmony House, that has a secure location. So Michelle will meet somewhere else with her
Yes.
volunteer panel, but the volunteers go out, and I encourage them when we have the orientation to read over the material, and if they have questions, please write them down and ask those questions, because we don't want any people wondering what happens. And so they will meet. I try to go to as many of those site visits as I can. If I can't be there, Sharon Alford's usually there for me. And then as a group, they get back together and they make recommendations. And their panel chairman, who's a board member, meets with the other board member panel chairman and our president, our executive director. I'm the executive director. They meet with me too. Our chairman of the board and our treasurer as well, who leads the allocations process,
Yes.
Marty Pierman. And then as a group, we'll look at, as of that morning, how much money have we raised? And how many agencies do we have, and what's our budget? Because
Yes.
out of that, we fund our own operations. And we have a small staff. You can go online and look at the 990. My salary's the only one there, and anybody who wants to look at it's fine with that. But we take our budget out. 99 cents of every dollar given to United Way stays in the local area. But that does mean that, we run the business of United Way.
Right.
So we take our operating costs out of that, and I believe 78 cents of every dollar goes back to the agencies that are in our United Way family. The reason it's that low is we do take out a percentage for unpaid pledges, because
Oh, yeah.
people move, people change jobs, people's financial circumstances change. And so we have to have, we can't obligate 100% of our funds, and when we know that between 7 and 10% is not going to be paid.
Yes.
And that's why some people will want to know what the difference is. That's it.
Wow.
So it's, and we have been in those meetings for as long as 3 and 4 hours, because we want to be sure that we're doing it as fairly as possible, and
also as correct as possible,
yeah,
too. 'Cause-
and getting the biggest
Yeah.
bang for our buck. I mean,
Yes.
which organizations are serving the most people, and what is the need that they're filling.
Yes.
So it's quite a process. I
Yeah.
would invite any of your viewers who would like to participate in it to call us at United Way. We'd be happy. It's one of the best things we do for people who don't believe in United Way,
Yes.
is to say, come on,
Yes. Look
meet
at our
with-
process.
Yeah, meet with us and see where your money goes.
Yes. Now you have Merry Market that's going to be coming up.
We do.
Yeah,
I'm so excited.
Yeah, tell me about Merry Market.
This will be our 5th annual Merry Market, and Merry Market is a dedicated fundraiser for early learning. Our tagline is Shopping with a Purpose. And to elaborate on the shopping, what Merry Market is it's one evening and 2 full days of shopping with vendors that we have invited and screened to come in to LaGrange. We have the market out at the Callaway Conference Center because it's the only place big enough.
Yes.
And oh my goodness, we've got everything from children's clothes. We've got a perfume company coming this year. We have Carlotta's Cakes from Macon coming this year. She's got a double booth, and she had wanted to be part of the market last year, and we didn't have, we were jam-packed full and had a waiting list. And she really wanted to get in, so she sent us a sample cake and thought that might the cake was amazing.
Yeah.
And so this year when she had applied again, I thought, well, I'm looking for something to send my oldest son in Oklahoma for his birthday. I'll send him a cake. Well, he's an engineer, and engineers are not very effusive. It's like, oh, great, thanks, Mom. I get this text from him. The cake arrived. It's awesome.
Wow.
So she's going to be there.
Yeah.
We've got Williams Toy Store coming back. One of the vendors that we have this year, actually, it's 2. It's a sister company. I'm so excited. We've had Branch and Vine, the olive oil and flavored vinegars from Noonan and Peachtree City, but this year they couldn't come, and we have the Georgia Olive Farms coming with the Georgia olive oil, and the sister company is Gala's Grits.
Wow.
And so we're really, really excited about that. They'll be there. And we've got Parker House and Rock and Bobbin will be back. They've got all kinds of gifts and accessories. So it's really, it's a wonderful, fun event. We kick off with a preview party on Thursday night. And the preview party is, it's a big party. We have food, we have beverages, we have Mr. Terrific, and that's the party part, and live music.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, who's Mr. Terrific?
Mr. Terrific is it used to be Papa, Peter, and Perrin Alford, and their brother, and they've expanded a little bit, so it's more than just Papa. They've got a full band. And they'll be there, and then we have a silent auction as part of the vendor fee. Each one of our vendors is required to give us an auction item with a certain value that I'm not going to state, so you won't know. And we have a silent auction. So 100% of the proceeds from the silent auction comes to early learning, which is great. And that goes from, I believe it's 5 to 7:30, and we collect all the silent auction items at 7:30, and then figure out who gets to purchase what. And at the same time, we have shopping going on in the ballroom.
Yes.
And some of our merchants have told us that they really like the fact that you can purchase then, and some of our attendees like it because a lot of these merchants have one-of-a-kind items.
Right.
And you don't have to worry about, oh, I saw it Thursday night, I've got to take my lunch hour and run out and get it, and then somebody's already bought it. You can go ahead and make those purchases Thursday night.
Yes. Now, when is Merry Market going to come to LaGrange?
It will start with a preview party on October 22nd.
So very soon.
Very soon. Very soon. Yes, we're working hard. And then it's all day on the 23rd on Friday from 9 to, I believe, 6, and then 9 to 5 on Saturday.
Yes. So where do people get their tickets?
From the United Way office or from Stephanie Preston.
Yes.
And you can also buy them at the door. We really like to pre-sell our preview party tickets, and they're $30 a piece. The neat thing about the preview party tickets is, in addition to everything you get Thursday night, you can come back as many times as you want to.
Yes.
So you can come back all day Friday and all day Saturday if you want to.
And regular tickets cost how much?
$5 a piece.
Okay, that's
$5 a day.
That is great.
Yeah.
And so how much money does Merry Market make?
Well, over the past 4 years, we have netted $70,000 in proceeds that have gone back into the community and into early learning. And when we were talking about not taking new agencies on, early learning has been a focus of United Way since 2006. We started our Success by 6 program there. And we wanted to be able to do more with it, but we didn't want to have to take away from our agencies. There are a number of United Ways who've gone from agency funding to what they call community impact funding, where you're funding a thing, like early learning or
Yes,
education.
yes.
And so what we decided to do was to have a special fundraiser dedicated to that. And so last year, for example, with proceeds from Mary Market, we brought author Chuck Stump in,
Yes.
who was our campaign kickoff speaker. He's also written the Sad Mad Glad books. We were able to purchase Sad Mad Glad books for every kindergarten student in Troup County and every kindergarten teacher. And Chuck and I went to 8 different elementary schools and did assemblies.
Yes, and he's from here, right?
No, his brother's from...
His brother's from here.
They're both from West Virginia, and Chuck
Okay.
still lives in West Virginia, so we were able to bring him in as a visiting author.
Yes.
And it was wonderful, but those were proceeds from Mary Market.
That is wonderful.
So we have our Success by 6 program and a lot of other things, and I think we're about to run out of time.
We are, but before we do, I want you to tell why United Way is so involved with early learning. Why is it so important that we start serving children even before they go into kindergarten?
There is a story called the Ogre Story about a village, and there was a villager who was walking by a river, saw some babies in the river and pulled it out, and he was, got out and got the baby dry, and all of a sudden he heard more, and he called the villagers and said, we need to get the babies out of the river. And finally somebody said, no, what we need to do is we need to go and find out why the babies are coming in the river. So a group of villagers went up, and there was an ogre
Yes.
throwing the babies in the water. What we've found out is we have all these agencies who do wonderful things that fill real needs we have, but if we had our children better prepared to learn, 90% of brain development occurs before the age of 4.
Yes.
Think about that.
Yeah.
And for many children, they don't get organized education, they aren't read to, and their brains don't get that real necessary good beginning. So
Yes.
that's why we feel that early learning is so critically important. We have to get those babies.
We have to start.
We have to pull them out before they ever get in the water.
Yes. And so, even the mothers reading out loud before the baby's born is important. And so, so we just get there and start giving them educational opportunities from the very start.
Absolutely. Reading to your baby when it's a baby
Yes.
is important. It's hearing those words. Hearing those words can build those connections in the brain. They don't have to be able to...
And I wish we had more time to talk
We'll
about
have to talk
this.
about early learning.
We will. And I would just like to say thank you for joining You Make the Difference, and thank you for living united.
Got a promise from heaven. It's a year of replevin.